Kansas City Chiefs. Earmuffs, Nick. Earmuffs. Through 5 weeks, Kansas City turning the ball over on a league high 21% of their drives. Not exactly what we had in mind for a Patrick Mahomes-led offense. But that defense has left them few options, forcing them to score pretty much every time they touch the ball. Here's how Mahomes explained it yesterday.
Do you feel like a little more urgency than normal because of what's going on the defensive side of the ball?
Not at all. I mean, for us, like you said, I mean, we try to score every single time we touch the football. That's how it's been my entire career here. That's how it was. That was kind of the precedent that was set before I even started here. And that's kind of how I have my mindset going into every single game, is that when we get an opportunity to go out there and have success and be successful, we have to capitalize that. And that has nothing to do with whatever is happening on the other side of the ball. It's just our job as an offense on this team.
With that, we say good morning to our 3-time Super Bowl champ, our friend and yours, number 79 in your playbooks, number 1 in your heart, Coach Eric Mangini. Good morning, Coach. How about that for an introduction? No one in your life this morning has introduced you like that.
That is a fantastic introduction. Thank you. I need that more often.
Just today. Hey, tell us, how can the Chiefs get back on track Sunday against Washington? Run through it for us. Give us the game plan.
Okay, well, Nick isn't going to like my first point because he never likes this point. One of the first things they can do is they can run the ball, and I talked about this going into last week's game, and it's one of those things that I understand when you've got Patrick Mahomes and you've got those offensive weapons, the last thing you want to do is run the ball, but it allows the offensive line to attack. It slows down the pass rush. We see what happened when Dallas committed to the running game. We see what happened when Pittsburgh last week commits to the running game. It changes things and it provides balance to the offense, and Kansas City needs some balance. I'd say the second point goes to the defense, and the defense has been talked about a lot. And oftentimes when you get into a hole, the thing that you do is you're trying to figure out what to add. And some of the best things that you can do is just stop digging and to simplify the defense and sit back and identify what you do well. And let me show you an example from the Buffalo game where this is a standard defense that they're going to end up running. They show post safety press man defense, and I love the disguise that Spagnuolo incorporates. And pre-snap, Sorensen's actually going to drive out to half the field. They're going to play a standard cover 2 defense. That means 2 safeties back deep and another player who's going to get the middle read. Buffalo's going to run an in cut, and Diggs is going to run a little post corner. That in cut eats up the backside safety, which it shouldn't. He should still be deep. And the post corner has Sorensen break to the outside, and the middle dropper, he sits down. Now there's this huge hole in the middle of the field, and you can see Tyrann Mathieu just throwing his hands up in frustration. And this is a defense that should be pretty well executed on a consistent base because it's not a complicated scheme to run. Now, when you're running a lot of things, which Kansas City does, and I like that. I've always been a multiple defense, a believer in having multiple defenses. The problem is you can get away from the basics, and that's what you're seeing in a play like this, where you're something that should be really good ends up not being very good. So that's the second point. Simplify the defense, identify what you do well. And then the last point talks about risk. And Mahomes needs to take more calculated risks. And I had this a little bit with Brett Favre when we were together in New York. You don't want to take away something that he does incredibly well, but you don't need to risk. You don't need to have the risk highlighted or add to it. And here's an example from the Philly game that I want to show you. So you got a back in the flat. You've got 2 players who are going to be at the sticks. It's going to be Kelsey and it's going to be Demarcus Robinson going to run routes at the sticks. Now what happens early is Orlando Brown gets beat on an inside move. So there's going to be pressure on Mahomes pretty quickly within this play. Now, when that happens, you've got the back in the flat, and you can see the amount of space that he has. You can throw it there right now. And then you look at Kelsey at the top of your screen, and he's bracketed by 2 linebackers. Now, Mahomes is actually going to go and look at Demarcus Robinson. He's not even considering the flat as an option. but he's looking at Robinson, and then he's going to come back late to Mahomes. Now there's pressure. He's got to get an answer very quickly, and Robinson isn't the answer. Now he goes back to Kelsey, and he's bracketed by 3 linebackers. Well, actually the 2 linebackers and the safety, but 3 defenders, and he's got the other defender about to create pressure and about to force a throw. So he no-look passes it, the ball's picked off, and it's a chance that's taken that doesn't need to be taken. You could go to the flat, you don't need to force it into Kelsey, and these are the type of plays that are unfortunately for Kansas City, causing and creating more turnovers than we've seen him have since his rookie season. So he's got to be able to take risks. You don't want to take that away from him, but he's also got to be able to take a step back and say this risk isn't worth it. And especially in that situation, it's a 7 or 8 yard completion. I know it's a 3rd down throw, but it just isn't worth the opportunity for a turnover.
Yeah, the only thing on the Mahomes play I would disagree with is I don't know if it's quite fair to call that a no-look pass. I don't think that was a no-look pass. I think his head was looking one way, his eyes the other. I don't think he was trying to be fancy there. I think it was bad play. But the reason the Chiefs are struggling is the defense. And the play you showed, it was just, a horrifying defensive breakdown. With a better pass, that would have been a touchdown. Unfortunately, he kind of had to wait for it. Maybe a better quarterback makes a better pass there. This guy's wide open by 30 yards. But doesn't matter. Here's the thing.
Obviously,
I would
right?
adjust
Obviously.
one thing, and then I want to ask a question. The biggest adjustment the Chiefs could have made in the Buffalo game and could make moving forward is don't employ Daniel Sorensen. I would like that. I would advocate for that. I don't know if they're taking job applications, but that would be the first thing. But here's what was so frustrating with me about the Buffalo game, particularly the first half, Coach. They weren't bringing any pressure at all. And the reason, theoretically, you don't bring pressure is you want to prevent the big play. But they were bringing no pressure and giving up the big play. So if when the defense playing as bad as it is, when you say simplify it, is this a level of that? Which is, if we're going to give up a huge play when we drop 7, we might as well blitz 6, drop 5, because we're giving up big plays in standard defense anyway. That way maybe we can generate a few of our own, because in the second half, when temporarily they started to show some resistance, they were bringing more pressure. Again, that's not going to fix things, but maybe it stops the bleeding a bit, because if you're not bringing pressure and you're still giving up 70-yard bombs, then you're just drawing dead entirely defensively, I would think.
Well, first of all, your answer of firing someone is pretty consistent with your answer with most problems in the NFL. Yeah. Fire the coach, fire the GM, fire the safety. Unfortunately, it's pretty hard to replace guys mid-season, especially guys with a lot of experience. Well, you're
Earl
right.
Thomas
You can bring pressure as an answer, but there's only so many reps that you have during the course of the week. And if you're going to have multiple defenses, you're trying to rep those things against the plays that you think are the highest probability of showing up, and then you've got to rep the contingencies, the hard things to adjust within that concept. And what that does is it gives you options, but it does create some indecision. You don't get to build up the reps. So I'm saying go back and look at what you've done really well. Maybe it's one zone, maybe it's cover 2, maybe it's cover 3, and you focus on that zone. And then if it's a pressure package, if there's 4 or 5 pressures that you really like, go in with those 4 or 5 pressures as opposed to going in with 10, because then the guys are going to run it better. They're going to run it faster. The reps will build up during the course of the week, and you've got a better chance for success. If you're giving up big plays, you might as well do what you do best and see whether or not they can beat you on those things, as opposed to just trying to find another answer that you're not really that good at.
Coach, there's a school of thought out there that going cover 2 and getting a pass rush with no blitzing is the way to defend Pat Mahomes, and you can have great success with that. Do you agree with that school of thought? Is that the best way to defend him? And can Washington do that? We talked about last week, Wiles talked about it last segment, how that defense has been a shell of what it was last year. Do you think Washington is built to do that cover 2 deep and then get a pass rush on Mahomes without blitzing?
Well, Washington is built better than any team in the NFL to do that, because what is it, 4 first-rounders on the defensive line. That's philosophically, it looks like that's what they were planning to be.